Hey, excuse me, I had a question. So this is a police department right here?
It's it's an extension of the police department.
Okay, so like if we had like say we had to come like make a complaint, we can do that here, or do we have to go to a different police department?
You actually have to go to the police department.
Okay, where's that located?
The closest one would be down on Tulare at the headquarters.
Okay.
That would be the closest one.
What does this station do?
This is the Fresno Police Chaplaincy. So we're kind of like the priest for the police department.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So if there's say death calls, if officers need moral support, we handle runaway calls, things like that.
Okay.
And so yeah.
You guys deal with the families of those who lost like loved ones and things like that? I see. So you guys are more like dealing with you guys deal more the public. You guys aren't really police officers though?
Yeah, we're not sworn officers.
Okay.
We have volunteers, some paid staff, and we run programs for runaways. We reach out to families of trauma and things like that. We do trauma classes and parenting classes.
Okay.
I have a question on the like volunteer stuff. Like, how could one volunteer, for instance, with this department or a different one, similar?
So they can go on the website at FresnoPoliceChaplaincy.org and fill out, click on contact, and it lists all of our programs, and then they can sign up right there.
So if you volunteer, is it still like considered like working with the city or working for the city, even though you don't get paid?
Yes.
Like, say if I had the community service hours that I wanted to come do here, I could?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
So you guys offer that here as well?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
All right, man. Thank you.
All right,
Can I get your name real quick?
D'Amico.
D'Amico? All right.
All right.
Cool, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Take it easy, man. Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How about
Good.
yourself? We were just kind of looking at the pamphlets, the lobby area you guys had to offer, and see with anybody who wanted to come sign up, say like if they wanted to do community service hours here, where would we go specifically to sign up for that?
Probably the best thing is call 621-2120.
Okay.
And we're in the kind of a transition right now.
Uh-huh.
So they should have an office manager hopefully next week, and you'll be able to get a hold of her. And then
Okay.
she can help out with any questions with respect to let's see, what do they run out of here? The Explorer program, patrol chaplains, Project Stealth, where they're working with teens.
Okay.
And then our mental health facility, that's at another location over by Manchester.
Okay, yeah, because I seen like I had a person tell me that in Fresno you guys are trying to do a lot with like finding the homeless people and like people that need mental help, putting them in places. Do you guys specifically are involved with that, or is it more the police?
That's not us.
Okay.
No. Ours is kind of early intervention. Kids exposed, families exposed to trauma. We try to get them right into counseling, make sure that trauma doesn't stick.
Okay, nice.
And then of course we do support blue. We have a run, and just saying, hey, there's a second narrative. Though everybody in every industry has people that shouldn't be there, police is no different. But there's a lot of good people here, and let's hear their story. So that's kind of what this office is for.
Okay. No, nice.
Any other questions?
Yeah, all of this is merchandise is for sale.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And so this is so when let's say for instance we purchase something, where does that money go to?
That money will go to the Fresno Police Chaplaincy, and it'll help fund like our runaways. All the runaways in Fresno, typically, I think about 3,000 a year. What we do differently than any other city is, out of this office, we'll call the families and try to connect with them and the runaways, and then try to get them into a mentoring program. Try to figure out why they're running away, because being out on the street is unsafe. And if we can get them to be able to figure out how to deal with the conflict, whatever's going on at home, they're safer there, right? They just got to learn how to work through the conflict. So it would help on that program, or patrol chaplains. They're kind of like the pastor at large. If somebody loses a loved one and they have no one to help them through that, that loss, they'll call a chaplain out no matter what time, and they'll show up and just be with them and help them navigate, that loss.
Makes sense, and that's specifically for the people, or is that for officers as well?
Both.
Both for
Yeah.
officers. So like, let's say an officer is involved in a shooting and he's going through some kind of mental issues,
Right.
he would come here and speak to someone?
They could, or like I said, maybe they get out on call and somebody, maybe somebody's son is lost in a traffic accident and they don't have any family support. So they'll get on the phone, call a chaplain, they'll come out usually within 30 minutes and just provide that care, that comfort, hey, what to expect next thing. But yeah, it works for both community and law enforcement.
All right, you have any questions, any more questions?
No, I think.
I do have one more question though.
What's that?
To make this and to print it out and to buy the gear, does that come out of tax funded?
No,
dollars?
this is not, this is a nonprofit.
This whole agency right here, the
Yeah,
installation?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, this is not the police department, this is a nonprofit that works with the police department.
okay, but it's also connected and it's not tax funded, the area?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, it's a nonprofit where, we look for grants and, maybe contracts or private funding, things like that. Donors that are out in Fresno that think that there needs to be a conduit for our community and our law enforcement.
Alright, okay, so, on my channel, we have, we try to just understand what's going on in law enforcement. We're not anti-police and we're not, pro-police either, we're just trying to understand what's going on and document everything and put it all out there. One of the comments that we get, and I'm one of the bigger channels in California that does this, and I go out and ask questions, and like I said, I put transparency in my channel name because I like to highlight the good and the bad.
Sure.
But one of the things that we get, for instance, in our comment section a lot is a lot of the unhappiness with the actual blue line flag. We get a lot of veterans as well who've actually served in the military, and they come and say, the American flag is red, white, and blue.
Right.
This blue line flag, it seems disrespectful to the people and to the veterans who have lost loved ones or just family members who've lost loved ones in the war. Now, I know that it's intended to be, support the blue or whatnot.
Right.
But a lot of people are saying that it's, makes them unhappy just to see it.
Yeah.
Do you have any answers to the other side of you want to speak to the people who say that this might be a form of propaganda to say support the blue no matter what they do, because like you said it yourself, there's a lot of cops that make mistakes, right? Or not just mistakes, but they're just bad officers. They don't belong on the force.
Yeah, well,
Some of them, right?
I didn't say a lot.
Right, okay.
Right? So do we have people that make mistakes just like every industry?
Right.
The answer is yes. To those that would question whether or not, we should have a blue line that goes through the flag, I've not yet heard that concern. I can certainly understand it.
Yeah,
I'm thinking
I see
about
you're
it.
soaking it up, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and
It kind of makes sense, right?
it can, right, because here's the one thing you can't do. Just because I believe something's right, I can't dismiss what somebody disagrees with, right? I can't say, well, that's on them. Because I'm not them, I don't have their understanding and interpretation. So I could see where that might have a rub for some people. And that would just take, some more reflection and is that the right thing to do? Now, if we hear one person say, I don't agree with that, do we change everything to suit that one person when you have a majority of people that support it? I don't know that that's the answer. So I think really it's weighing in. Do a lot of people feel like that? And if a lot of people do feel like that, I'd encourage them to reach out and tell us so we can make the right decision.
I mean, maybe next year, if you begin to see the concerns of the people,
sure,
and then you tend to really soak it up and say, okay, maybe there is a divide there. Maybe we should. I mean, it can easily be changed to the American flag, right? It wouldn't be that much of a big deal to change to the American flag, but like I said, like I come in here and people are gonna see this and they're gonna be like, whoa, dude, you just walked into the hornet's nest of blue line propaganda. You know what I mean?
Right.
But, and I do appreciate you talking to us.
Yeah, absolutely. There's gotta be space for everyone to communicate, right? We don't all have the same experiences. We don't all look through the same lens. But that doesn't mean I'm your enemy, you're my enemy. It just means we see things differently. But there's got to be common ground, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe I go, all right, I'm not going to parade this because it offends you, but why don't you come out on a ride along for 10 hours and see what the other side's like, right?
Makes
It's
sense.
got to be a give and take.
Right.
That's the only way we're going to repair things.
Yeah.
And keep in mind,
The only, because see, I've been doing this for a long time too. The only argument that the people have, see, I'm only one of the people, so I try to represent the people.
but I'm one of the people.
Right. So some of the times they say that the only reason why people shouldn't go on ride-alongs is because, for one, the people have an anonymity, right? They sometimes people want to be anonymous and stay anonymous. And in order to do a ride-along, you actually have to give up your information to do that. Now, it's not a bad thing, especially if police, you're not doing anything wrong, police know who you are, just go do the ride-along, right? But a lot of people really are adamant, because one of the things that we do on our channel is non-political.
Yeah.
It's teach the First Amendment. It would amaze you to see the officers on our channel that don't even know the First Amendment of the Constitution. The kids don't know it. A high percentage of police officers that I encounter don't know it. I ask every officer one question, and that's, do you know the First Amendment of the Constitution? Now, I'll ask you, and you don't have to answer, obviously, but do you know it?
I don't.
You see what I mean, though?
Right,
You see
no.
how important that is?
Yeah,
Like,
and the thing is, if you said it's, and I'd be like, yeah, that's what it is. But it's those same people that are on social media, right?
well,
Sharing all
because
their
there
information.
was no social media before.
No. What I'm
this
saying, you're talking about not wanting to stay anonymous.
Right.
But our whole lives are dumped out on
Yeah,
social media,
we're the ones that put our lives
Amazon, right? So I mean,
Yeah.
does that argument really hold water?
Yes,
Right.
It still does, because whenever the people do what they do on social media, of course you're gonna put your stuff out there, and the cops are. I mean, there's this thing called I just did some research on it, and it's called predictive policing, right? Where they have like technology that actually looks at your social media and just a whole bunch of different things, and they're trying to, like the movie Minority Report, right? With Tom Cruise, and they're trying to prevent crime in the future. There's a lot of people are seeing a lot of issues with that in the future as well. If police continue to go down that road, a lot of violations. But the simplicity of the First Amendment, it amazes me, because that's the first law of the land.
Right.
And
freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech. There's
Right,
one of 5 elements.
Right.
You got that.
Right.
one.
Yeah,
Just
I got the one, right?
You got 1 out of 5.
Okay.
You gotta try another one.
Well, I'm good 1 for 1. Because if I was playing baseball and I took 1 swing and I made a hit, dude, I'm batting
But
1,000.
think about it. One of them is very important as what you guys do, as the chaplain building.
Freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion. There you go.
Right.
All right.
Freedom of speech, freedom of religion.
Okay.
And one of the things is what we're doing right now.
Freedom of press.
Freedom of press.
Freedom of press. Freedom to assemble.
Okay.
Right, with your group of friends, family, let's talk about what's going on in government.
Right.
And freedom to petition. When your assembly realizes that something's wrong in government, petition the government, right? Get your signatures and petition. That is the First Amendment. Those 5 elements of the First Amendment is extremely important. Nobody seems to know it, dude. And it's so important that the Second Amendment was written to protect it. And it amazes me how, and that's why my channel grew so fast, is because we keep it simple, non-political. Let's go out and teach everybody the First Amendment. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's crazy, because as you see, we're having a conversation, we're cordial, right? And you're a really cool dude. Like you have a really good attitude, and I appreciate you talking to us.
Sure.
But not everybody's like that. We walk in and they see a camera, and they're like, they go hiding. They don't even know that we have a right to record, so they call cops on us. Give us.
And they don't even know what kind of conversation we want to have with them. You know, they immediately think, "Oh, camera recording you." Like it's like we're against.
Unfortunately, we're kind of wired to assume the worst, right? That's how our DNA is structured, man. You're here to put the screws to me. I'm here, and that's a shame, because it doesn't need to be like that. Because the 3 of us, how old are you?
I'm 22.
Okay, just making sure. The 3 of us, we may disagree on some fundamental things, but we could probably go up the street, sit down, and have a beer, and enjoy one another's company.
Yeah.
Get out of work.
Are you buying?
All right.
Yeah. So my job, like yours, is to go, hey, this is Fresno Police Department. It's an organization, but it's not the Fresno Police Department and community, right? because Fresno Police Department, they're coaches. They shop in Walmart. They sit in your same churches, right? So we're one community, and the Fresno Police Department, that's just a vocation within one community. And I think we wrongly have painted a picture that there's this division between police and community. That's nonsense, right?
That is the division, bro. The fact that the people and the cops, both parties, don't know the First Amendment. That's the division. Because the cops are out there sometimes enforcing feelings, not law. See, we're law abiding citizens, right? Sometimes cops don't even know law, and they'll admit it. They'll tell you, a lot of cops they don't know the First Amendment. Not only that, but we don't know all the laws. And they're the first to admit it. So
Have you seen a vehicle code or penal code book?
They're huge.
Right.
I understand. Yeah, they're big.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of I like to tell jokes as I go along. Sometimes I tell officers, like, if they don't know the laws, because I ask them questions. I like to ask a lot of questions, right? Sometimes I'll say, like, do you know this? And they're like, well, I don't know that. I don't know the law. I have to look into it. I don't really know. And I'm like, well, let me ask you this: are you a law enforcement officer or I don't know the law enforcement officer? Because that's a huge problem. Now, we can't expect the police officers to know all the laws, right? But we should expect the police officers to know basic laws, basic understanding of human rights. A lot of people don't understand the Constitution and they ignore it. But the Constitution doesn't give us our rights. Our parents, we are born with human rights, right? The Constitution was written to limit the scope of authority that public officials have over the people. And no wonder nobody wants to learn it, because everybody wants to walk around with authority, right? And it's insane. Now, I understand police officers are hired to do a job.
That would be true if the other section of people knew and understood, but you said yourself that you're amazed that's across the board.
All the way across the board.
It's across the board. Because there's some things that we're not taught, or for whatever reason, quite frankly, there's just too much information, right? There's no doubt that I probably have been taught, right? Our 8th grade, back in my age, probably had to understand the Constitution before you got out 8th grade, went into high school. There's so much information coming at not just officers, right? But everyone. Hey, hold on to it, right? You deal with what's on the periphery, and that's how you get through your day.
Well, I think if we begin to at least see, we tend to think that it's so complex that we'll never get to a fix. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that a lot of times that, we tend to not really focus on what is wrong out there. I mean, I could blow your mind with some of the things I know, like internal investigations, qualified immunity. Nobody understood what qualified immunity was a few years ago. After the George Floyd incident, I started making videos about qualified immunity, and people began to understand what was going on. Then people started talking about it. The very next day, everybody gave that up and started talking about defund the police.
And now states like Colorado are actually abolishing qualified immunity as we speak.
These are topics that you took an interest in, and then you began to self-teach, right?
It's crazy, dude. Yes.
Okay, but understand, maybe maybe somebody else is interested in the Los Angeles Rams winning the Super Bowl this year.
We talk about that all the time. Everybody's too focused into sports and things.
So here's my point. You may be an expert and you wonder, why don't these people know these things? Because you have a particular interest in those things, right?
That's why I try to make it fun and exciting, get people to learn.
But
nobody cares.
But we can't. But you and we have to be careful of casting judgment and disparaging, because we don't share that same lens of what's important.
You're exactly right, and that's why it's awesome for you to actually come out and talk to people like us, because how many people are willing to come in here and document? Hey, let's have a conversation. What do you guys do here? Like how many people do you get coming in here that film and stuff like? Maybe never.
And here's the truth, because a lot of times people lack integrity, right? And it puts us on the defense. We don't know, because for all I know, you're going to put me on your YouTube and you're going to ask me one question.
No.
Hey, do you know the First Amendment? No. Dumb, right? And go on. So, there's a hesitation. And it's not necessarily the people's fault, but it's what people have done, in the past through the power of media,
Mm-hmm.
right? And history is a great predictor of the future. You tattooed me once, you ain't gonna get me again. That's why I don't
Yeah.
wanna talk. So,
I like to think of social media as we use social media to learn to have fun with first, right?
Mhm.
As everybody grows up to learn how to have fun before they need to do what they have to do in life, right? So we learn how to use social media to download movies and to watch stupid stuff that we don't need to be watching, do all kinds of dumb stuff on the internet.
right,
But people are also using the internet to do things that are good as well.
Sure.
Learn how to live healthy, different kinds of things,
Sure.
right? Like I said, when I started my channel, I never expected to go anywhere. We're over 300,000 subscribers now, just because we're going out and asking questions and trying to find out. I guarantee you, if you go, that's why I gave you my card so you could watch this video. You're gonna get a lot of good comments, okay? But at the same time, you're gonna get read the comments of
Right.
what the people have to say. That way, you just have an understanding of how many of the people are out there do feel.
Mhm.
And a lot of times, you don't hear this, and I'll tell you
sure.
why. Because mainstream media news, they don't really put that out there.
Mhm.
Police unions and stuff like that, they don't really talk about that. So that's why a lot of people are left out in the dark sometimes.
Sure.
We do have groups of veterans out there that are really angry, they're fed up, and they're like, wait a minute, man, my friend didn't die for that flag. My
Right.
friend died for the red, white, and blue. And so I try to understand, both sides.
yeah.
But what can I say, man? I can go on and on. One thing I did want to tell you is this. I never expected it either, but we did do a video just like this. We went out and we asked questions. And you ever play the game Grand Theft Auto or see it? Or see it being
what?
played?
Dude, I'm
It's-
56, no. You know what I play? Pong.
It's funny, but check this out. We stumbled onto the compound to go and record. There was like no trespassing signs anywhere.
Mhm.
We just kept stumbling upon everywhere. We walked all the way through that whole compound. It felt like the video game. You know how people break in and they're just walking around everywhere? It felt like we was in a freaking game. And we went all the way in the back where the shooting range is. We walked through there and everything. And then finally some cops came out and they're like, hey, you guys can't be back here. And then we went out to the front, and next thing you know, the most police officers ever called on one audit. We had all of the LAPD, we had the chopper, we had everybody out there.
Over 25 officers.
25 officers.
Yeah.
Later on, one of the sergeants, I don't know if he works there, he's just from there. Somebody else went to go do a follow-up. What they did to try to defend the actions of the people, right? They don't want the people on there no more. They put up a fake no trespassing sign with a fake penal code on the bottom. And that's not legal. So another guy went out there and called them out on it and says, you guys gotta take that down. I'm gonna walk around, take the risk. If you guys gonna arrest me, I'll take the arrest. And he goes in there, and the same sergeant, Tom, comes out there and he's talking to him. He's like, hey man, where's San Joaquin? Where's San Joaquin? And then he tells the other auditor that was out there, he says, hey, I would like to figure out a way where San Joaquin or you guys can come in and teach a class here for the First Amendment.
Mhm.
Because after walking around that whole compound asking questions, and we also went to the LASD, the Sheriff's Department training facility, they're not teaching the First Amendment
Mhm.
to the police officers.
That's
out there.
important.
And I think that is one of the most important things of this country,
Mhm.
is to teach the police officers the First Amendment. And that's not all the laws of the book.
Right.
That's basically human rights, and not to overstep the boundaries of human rights.
And just going around having these conversations and teaching not only people in positions like this, but teaching people of the public, hey, do you know the First Amendment? We incentivized it. We started giving out shirts and this and that,
Right.
giving out gift
Yeah.
cards. But just going around teaching it is a foundation, a really good foundation for me and you and everybody else outside in the outside world to respect each other's human rights. Once we know what our human rights are, then we can start to respect them. If we have no clue, we'll never know when we're stepping on somebody's toes.
We can all pocket our feelings and abide by the laws. And if we go out there and we cuss each other out and hey, F you and hey, F you, that's all right, man. Even the cops, tell the cops F word and everything. They should be able to have enough training to not go and arrest the guy just because he's mad. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, what people don't understand is this. A lot of that happens. People get their rights violated.
Mm-hmm.
The district attorneys don't want to drop those charges because it's an easy lawsuit. So they drag it out. And you also have people going to
The
court.
district attorneys don't handle lawsuits, though.
No, not the lawsuits. But the reason they don't dismiss the cases like that is because it's an easy lawsuit for the people. The district attorneys know that, and they're already in cahoots and knowledge with the city managers and the city attorneys. The city attorneys are the smart ones. The city managers do all the contracts. The city attorneys tell them where to go, what to do, how you can do this, how you can do that. And they also inform district attorneys, police chiefs, and all that on these things. But what amazes me is when people stand up in court and say, wait a minute, Your Honor, I'm speaking out of turn, whatever, it's a contempt of court, right? But when police officers are actually violating people's rights, and I'm not saying it happens all the time, but it happens. And so when they're in there tying up the courts, isn't that a form of contempt of court as well? And it's and if the district attorney doesn't want to drop the case, it's dragging it out. The people are paying so much money for mistakes that should.
Would you expect an officer to walk up to you and see your camera, and maybe he's got a preconceived idea of who you are, what you're doing, and what if he just starts cussing at you?
We've had that.
Yeah, we've had
And I'll tell you what, man, we've actually had chiefs fired because of the channel.
Yeah.
Now, that's not the goal. The goal is.
But here's my point. You're talking about understanding the foundation of our country, the Constitution, right? That in understanding that, we can have a better relationship with one another.
Right.
I think it's sad if we have to look to, a codified document to direct me to understand you as a human. I don't think that's true. I think aside from that, I ought to look at you as a divinely created being by God that has every bit of value that I do, outside of whatever is written by our former government, right? So I think we're missing the basic platform of humanness between one another.
That's it, bro. That's it.
That's
the
it goes beyond the Constitution. I think what you're doing is a great thing. You've got my mind stirring, and I want to consider this.
Anything beyond the Constitution, it jumps on feelings.
The Constitution should affirm what God has already said.
That's right.
Right?
And that's why it's a problem if government officials don't understand it. And we need everybody to really learn it and really feel it when they're out there. And especially, if not the whole Constitution, because I understand it's big,
Right.
but at least the Bill of Rights.
Right. Well, and how about not just law enforcement and the leadership, but like you said, how about treating, if I'm in uniform and I'm trying to do my job, how about just treating me with the decency of a human being, right? I mean, I've had people hate me because I'm in a uniform, and it's like, dude, you don't even know me. Mm-hmm. Usually people get to know me before they dislike me, right?
You'll see in my videos, in my comment sections, that I always give what I get. I have a lot of police officers that I talk to, retired police officers. There's one retired fish and game warden for 23 years. He actually wrote a book that was actually inspired from my channel, because I had a video of a fish and game warden who was actually cordial, and I actually highlighted the video because a lot of people say, why do you highlight the videos of cops being good? They don't get a lot of views, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, I want there to be something to emulate.
And you need to, because I can't tell you how many calls I get. And honest, hey, come on in. Hey, you're gonna be on video, but you'll be fine. How many times, I'll get a call from a Fresno PD officer. Hey, Rod, I'm out on this call with this family. They got nowhere to stay. Can we get them some money? Can we put them in a hotel, or we need to buy this? So, there's just so much good that's done, but because it's just part of the job, nobody knows about it. But, certainly we do something wrong, everybody knows about it, right? So, I mean, there needs to be some sort of balance of...
I would think that the officers that do good continue to do good. That's what you get paid for. The ones that do bad, it's time to weed them all out. Because I feel like sometimes...
But that's wrong. They get paid to enforce the laws and protect, right? They don't get paid to pull money out of their pocket and go put up a family that just got, maybe involved in domestic violence, and they got nowhere to stay. And just out of the goodness of their heart, they're like, here, I'm paying for it. Should they do it? Absolutely. But that's not their job.
No, cops don't have to give up their
Yeah,
pocket.
definitely.
Yeah,
you're right. That's not their job.
And what I'm saying is, they're willing to, because there's not like a pool that we pull cops from. Like, all right, you guys are all born, you're gonna be cops. You know, it's out of the human pool. So we're all you.
I've actually highlighted a video where a cop was called because somebody was stealing, and he actually bought them the stuff that they needed, and he told them, I don't want to arrest you, bro. I highlighted that video because, like you say, like sometimes cops do these things and we don't see it.
That needs to be shown.
But the other day, I was recording in Los Angeles, and we saw 2 officers on duty window shopping. You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
The cops, like I said, the cops that continue to do good, let's keep them on the force, man. Let's give them raises.
Yeah.
The other day.
Have you ever done anything like that at work?
What do you mean?
Have you ever done 56 and a 55?
As far as like speeding?
Just doing 56 and 55.
Let me just say this, man. Because of what I do, I make sure that I break no laws anymore. Only for the
we make sure, like with police accountability and what we do, we make sure to highlight the good, and we also make sure to walk a straight line ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to.
But here's the point: you're not infallible. You don't. You got to make mistakes.
Everybody does.
Yeah. So I mean, we got to be careful. You see somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing, that's them. Man, follow me around for a day. I'm the chaplain of the Fresno Police Department. We're fallible, right? I'm always pointing at people that aren't driving well. And it's like, what's wrong with people driving? And then when I make a mistake, it's like, oh, that's one mistake. That's no big deal. We're all guilty of doing things like that.
Let me ask you something. I live in Bakersfield, not far from here. Very similar to Fresno. Old downtown.
Yeah.
Got the new downtown, all that. In Bakersfield, Kern County. Reason I started doing this because I woke up and I seen the news segment says, Kern County is the deadliest county for police justified killings per capita. And I said, my kids are gonna grow up here. Somebody needs to let the cops know that they're being watched every now and then, right?
Sure.
And so I went out there, tried to do it respectfully and try not to get in their way or whatnot. But right away, a lot of these officers didn't like it. And they started giving me a lot of crap, getting in my face, doing this and that, back up. And they try to tell us, stand over there for officer safety, this and that. You're not gonna like this one, but one of the things I say is,
probably, but I've already assented that, hey, we make mistakes, right?
I like to say this, man. Officer safety is not heroism. It's a form of cowardice. Public safety, that's heroism, right? We need brave officers out there, not, oh, I'm afraid, officer safety, go bam, bam, because they're afraid. We've seen a lot of officers who really shouldn't be out there on the job. And so.
When you say a lot, like, quantify that for me.
We have a lot of different videos, right?
Right.
And because of my channel, I do police accountability, government accountability. I get sent videos every single day. My email is flooded with emails. A lot of those emails, I don't post them on my channel because they're violent videos of cops beating people up.
So if they're in an event that perceivably looks bad, then they should lose their job.
Absolutely. Cops
What if we don't know the whole story? And is there in your opinion?
Well, I was taught as a child, people lie all the time. People will lie, man. I'll lie, you lie, we'll all lie, right? Every once in a while. But the camera don't lie. Now I know that cameras are manipulated as well, but that goes both ways, bro. I know you know that many times cops' video cameras and
body cam footage gets muted.
Been muted and manipulated and stuff like that. We see that a lot on our channels as well, just because people send us our videos.
So it can happen.
It can happen.
Either way.
And it will. Both ways. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're on the same page.
Right.
But my point is, you can't take one incident where an officer's involved and go, that guy no longer needs to be a cop.
That's the thing.
Or gal.
These things are happening so much, they're not isolated incidents anymore.
No, but we're just talking about one person, right? I mean, you got to go back and look. All right, how long has this person been on the job? What has been their history? Are they prone to this? What was the other person's involvement? So there's a lot of questions to ask, and it's kind of presumptuous of me to look at a video and go whether it's I'm looking through an officer lens or a person that was contacted by the officer, to say they're totally in the wrong. That there just has to be more investigation. There has to be more knowledge behind.
And you're right, the research is extensive. Like there will be some videos where on the outside looking in, if you're not like knowledgeable on what we're talking about or the interaction that's going on, you'll think like, man, like this person is yelling at the officer. Why is that? You know, then the officer retaliates and arrests the person. And we think like, oh, maybe the officer is right for arresting the person. Then you actually have to look at case law like Houston versus Hill. Actually, it doubles down on the person's freedom of speech to say to an officer whatever they may say. Interfering in an investigation is physical only. It's not verbal. So we ourselves have to do that research and show it on our channel like, hey guys, this is what we found out. It's pertaining to this case, and this is why this officer is in the wrong. It's not anything about our feelings. Like we ourselves, since we go out and have these conversations, we can't care about our feelings in every situation.
Right.
We have to care about the case law and what is actually legal and what's not.
Right.
And then so the research and the walk in a straight line, that all falls back on us.
But you can't deny your feelings either, right?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you got feelings, that's why you're out here doing what you're
But we
doing.
cannot really act on those feelings. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure we can cry and laugh and all that. But like, say for instance, I'm mad at a cop and let's say like a cop grabs my son's arm, right? Like he did not too long ago because he was recording and the cop didn't want us recording. And the cop grabbed my son's arm. There's nothing I can do to the cop. I can't grab his arm and say, hey, stop. You know what I mean? And in reality, I don't believe that my son did anything wrong. The officer he just didn't want us to be on the sidewalk recording a checkpoint. And he's telling us where we can stand and where we can't stand. And in reality, if we don't break the law, the officer has no authority over us, the people, right?
On a public
We're
sidewalk.
allowed to walk freely. And so the officer was just like, oh, you can't be here, you can't say this, you can't do that.
Did you get mad?
Oh yeah, we're doing this. You know, he got all up in our face and he was just like being all
Okay,
aggressive.
so you are controlled by your emotions.
Well, in reality, I am controlled by my emotions. I did control my emotions. In reality, I did flip them off. A lot of times, the goal is to show that cops are actually violating people's rights. They should.
You did it you flipped him off for other people's good.
No. For the officer's good. He needs to stop violating people's rights. He truly needs to understand.
I bet he didn't
what the
understand that.
No, he's gonna learn now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and it happens a lot. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's videos that I'm not proud of, but there are videos that I have that I'm very proud of. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so, like, that was one of my videos that I'm not the most proud of.
Right.
You know, but I still don't believe that I did anything illegal. Now, was it moral? My moral compass wasn't up there that day, right?
Right.
But at the same time, I still did nothing illegal.
Okay, so it's okay for you to have those days where your moral compass isn't up there, but nobody else can.
Yes, because for one, I didn't break the law.
Right.
Secondly, I'm not paid by the taxpayers to behave professionally. It's not in my policy. It's in the officer's policy to behave professionally, no matter what.
You could be wanting robots though. Here's, you
No,
got many.
cops want robots when they think that we have to obey and sit on the ground. We're not breaking any laws.
How many officers have been killed this year?
Not many. That's
Not many?
Not many. Now tell you
There's
what.
been over 60 officers killed in the
Throughout the
nation.
nation.
Throughout the nation, and it's March,
In America's most dangerous jobs, that is at the way bottom, bro. Where's all the logger safety and all the fisherman safety?
I'm not allowed.
But you see what I'm saying,
But
though?
what I'm saying, 60 officers. It's March, so there's risks. If you're looking for the perfect officer, that perfect person, that you're gonna run into the building when it's on fire, and they're gonna do all the right things all the time. That person doesn't exist.
But isn't that what that's telling us?
No. What this is telling you is, you know what? I got a tough job. There are some that don't belong in it, and we need to weed them out. But the vast majority, there's 900,000 officers working the streets of this nation. 900,000, right? Let's say 1 million. Fresno PD goes out to about 1,500 events per day. Think about all the contacts. That's just Fresno. Now you go Fresno, Selma, Bakersfield, across the nation. All the contacts that are going well, where they're talking, and we're not putting our hands. So you got all these things where things go right, and nobody cares about that. You get some instances where things go wrong, whether it's bad perception, the officer did everything right, but the person did something wrong. Or potentially the officer did something wrong, right? Those are so few compared to that which has gone right. And we're hyper-focused, in my opinion. This is to bring balance. Hey, are they all bad? Or are we painting them with a bad brush or a broad brush?
I think that, you see, there's a lot of times we get videos of people who have actually supported cops their whole lives,
Mhm.
and then they get violated, beat up, or something happens to them or their family members. And then all of a sudden, they're like, wait a minute, that wasn't right.
Mhm.
And so now they lose complete trust in policing. A lot of people, this is happening throughout the nation every single day. One of the things I like to think, and what I'm crazy sometimes, right? But at the same time, I see this and I say, well, no wonder they need this. Because sometimes they're out there violating people's rights. And we've already established that not the people and not even the police officers know the First Amendment. So a lot of times out there, they're making mistakes.
Do you think you have to know the First Amendment to treat somebody
I
right?
think so. I think so. And I'll tell
We've
you
already
why.
established. We've already established that it's not about the First Amendment. It's about how we view each other as being created beings from God.
Well, I understand that, and let me answer that. And I'm a Christian. Okay, I grew up in church, and my faith is really good in God.
Mhm.
Okay, but at the same time, not all officers are good. They make mistakes. A lot of times we're seeing that it's being covered up
Yeah.
over and over and over again in different police stations. Now we are seeing sometimes where officers get reprimanded or something happens, he gets fired.
Right.
Most of the time it's because it's on video.
Yeah.
A lot of times we see that something doesn't happen to the officer and then video comes out and then boom.
I think what I have a problem with is just overstatements like a lot, or that when there's really nothing to substantiate that.
Actually
right?
there is, because I have thousands of videos on my channel
Right.
and they speak for themselves. And
Not necessarily.
you'll see.
Well, I'm saying, not necessarily. We already established that you can look at a video and your perception can change if you know the extended facts. So, I mean, here's what it boils down to. There's just some sticking points where I view things one way, you view things another. But it doesn't negate that we can't treat each other with respect and dignity,
and
right?
respect, yeah.
We don't always have to agree with one another. I don't always agree with Rod Lowry. It's just the way it is.
I don't know who he is, but I'll look him up.
That's me.
Okay.
You do know who he is.
Yeah, I do know.
It really comes down to intentions, right? If your intention is to catch every bad act, you're going to find them. You're just going to. If your intentions are to catch every good act, you're going to do that.
There are some channels similar to mine that I'll walk into a place like this and you'll come out and say, hey, how you guys doing? Can I help you guys with anything? And they'll come out to you something like, did I ask for help?
Yeah.
And they'll just come off rude to you for no reason. They want that video. They
Right.
want that viral video, right? Sometimes my videos go viral, sometimes they don't. I really don't care if they do or not. I would rather have this dialogue right here.
Right.
Because I want you to hear me out. And at the same time, I want to know what's going on in here. I want to know
Sure.
what's going on in your mind. I want to ask questions and I want you to throw it all on the table for me.
Here's the best thing that can happen. When you guys leave, if I walk back into my office and I go, I want to think about what they said. And if you leave, and if I can get you to go, yeah, maybe he's got a little bit of truth in there. That's a win for both of us.
I'm not anti-police. So for one, I do believe that we need police officers out there.
Absolutely.
I'm not in agreement that defund the police. Some people say, oh, defund the police is not really to stop paying cops and just get rid of the police departments. Defund the police to stop pouring so much money into these departments. I don't really know their angle.
Mhm.
I don't really know the angle of that.
Right.
It just doesn't seem feasible. I mean, if we're pouring too much money to militarize the police and stuff, then maybe, yeah, we should stop pouring all that money into them. But to defund them completely, it makes absolutely no sense to me.
Doesn't make a lot of sense.
So, I did talk to a guy a long time ago when I first started my channel, and he said back in the day, you had sheriff deputies and their jobs were simple. They go out and get bank robbers, murderers, rapists, and stuff like that. Their job was out there to get criminals. What we're seeing today, a lot of criminals are getting away with things because the cops are too busy doing petty stuff. You see one traffic stop, you see 3 police cars, 5 officers out there sit on the ground, we're searching. I mean, not all officers.
25 cops for a couple cell phones, you know, like,
Yeah, it's,
Right.
like
insane.
it's proportion at this, like, at this rate, it's kind of become unstoppable, you know, where we try to offer balance, you know, and I think conversations like this where the intent part, how you said, if you go look for every bad thing, you're going to find it. If you go look for every good thing, you're going to find it. We just try to have productive conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have it like this, and we show that in the channel. But sometimes before we could even get off a question, it's, hey, back up. Hey, you guys are...
Right.
And that's what we're
I
just
can
like...
see where that can be
That's where we're like,
frustrating.
hey, dude, we're just trying to talk,
Right,
you know? Like,
right. And a lot of it is a lack of understanding, right? You don't understand their job completely. You don't understand what's going on in the scene, and they don't understand who you are and your intentions. I mean, again, it's like you said, it's a lack of communication where, you know, we just can't sit down at the table and have a conversation and agree to disagree, but go, hey, all right, I understand you. I get where you're coming with. I don't agree necessarily, but I get where you're coming from. It's like the flag thing, you know. I could see where somebody says that's not the U.S. flag. It shouldn't be. So I get that, and I want to mull that over. And if it's the right thing to go, yeah, let's not do that, because we don't want to offend people. We want to encourage people, right?
You know, several departments in the United States and in Canada have heard the people out, especially veterans, and they have actually removed them from the vehicles or from uniforms and stuff like that. There was this one channel, it was a newer channel, I think it was in Colorado, I'm not exactly sure. You guys, put it in the comment section if you guys remember that video. But he went in there and asked about the sticker on the vehicle. The officer that was driving the vehicle was really rude. But then he asked for a supervisor. Supervisor came out and he said, look, man, we're getting these comments. All we're asking is, this is, first of all, the flag doesn't belong on the vehicle. An American flag only. You're not supposed to, you know, do anything with the vehicles. And the sergeant actually says, you know what, it is against, I'll go inside, look at our policy. It came out and said, it is against our policy, we'll remove it, we'll put the American flag. And they did that. And like I said, a lot of times people are not aware. And I mean, obviously I can't come in here and say, take that down, we're gonna try and force you to do it. Obviously not. It's best to come in here and have a conversation.
Right.
And whatever you decide at the end of the day, it's your freedom, it's your job, whatever it is you do. But I mean, I thought we'd come in here and we'd talk to everyone, and I really do appreciate you.
yeah, and I will say this, we're not anti-police or defund the police or
No, I
anything.
get it.
The ones that we need in those positions, they need full support.
I'll tell you
They
what we
need
need.
full support, you know?
I tell you what we need is we need a young man like that goes, hey, you know what? I want to get into the police department. I want to be a cop. I want to be that difference maker. With all your knowledge and your expertise, think about it. Just think about this. If you came onto an agency with your background, how you can influence all the young, because like for Fresno PD and probably Bakersfield the same, we're going through a transition. The dinosaurs, like myself, the gray hair, getting ready to retire. Don't laugh, dude. You got
I'm there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you laughing at? You're wearing the ball cap. All right, so what an opportunity for a smart young dude like this, right? That knows the First Amendment, that believes that there needs to be law, right? But it needs to be tempered. You know, you're the next generation to come into the department and be that influence.
Yeah, and the cool thing about my position is I have friends who work in prisons. I have friends who are officers, friends who are sheriffs, highway patrol, and in reality, they look at me as like a middleman, you know. And that's all I can offer is, hey, I can go out here and I can have conversations with officers without being how he said, like that person where, hey, can I help you? Well, I don't want any help, you know. Like that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to have productive conversation, and I think that's why our platform is growing the way it is, because you hear the news and the news only shows negative, you know, mainstream at least. And then you see on your Facebook wall, your Instagram wall, whatever, it's only what you follow, you know. So we have a
middle somewhere. Right?
Yeah, we have a platform that's a middle ground, and that's the position I love. You know, like I have all the years in the world to go and join the military if I wanted to become a cop, but right now I like the position of being the middleman, being the conversation starter.
Understand this, young buck. In a blink of an eye, you won't have all those years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? Well, hey, I gotta get back to work.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure. talking to you
Thank you.
guys.
Yeah.
You guys be blessed, right?
All right.
And
Thank you for
you know,
having us, man.
keep doing what you're doing
Thank you.
because it takes a lot of work to get me to think. And you guys cause me to think.
I appreciate it,
Awesome.
man.
Thank you.
All right,
Yeah.
man.
I appreciate
Take
it.
it
man.
easy.
Have a great day.
All right, you too.
All right.
Man, that turned out to be an amazing audit.
Chaplaincy right
I hope
there.
you guys like this audit. I'm trying to go in there and ask questions, and you know, if I would have went in there and I said, "Take this shit down," he'd have been like, "Hell no, I'm gonna start posting blue line flags all over the place." So I thought it was important for us to just go in there and talk to him and just let him know, like, look what he said. It takes a lot to make me think, so that's what I do, folks. I'm gonna tell you guys one more thing before I let you go.